If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. Chapter 1. The Ordered Universe, Dharma, Rita, and the Fabric of Cosmic Law. Part 1. The Ancient Vision of a Conscious Cosmos. Long before temples were built or prayers were spoken, the ancient seers of India, the rishis, sat in deep stillness and looked at the world around them. They watched the sun rise and set without missing a single day. They watched rivers follow their paths to the sea without fail. They watched seasons change in the same order, year after year, without confusion. And they asked a simple but very deep question. Why does everything move in such a perfect, steady way? Their answer was not chance. Their answer was not luck. Their answer was Rita. Rita, in the oldest hymns of the Rig Veda, is the great order that holds all things in their right place. It is not a god. It is not a rule written by a king. It is the very nature of existence itself, the silent force that keeps the stars in their paths, that makes the rains come in their season, that ensures the right fruits grow from the right seeds. Rita is the reason the world does not fall into chaos. The rishis saw this order not just in the sky or in nature, but in human life as well. They believe that every event, every birth, every meeting, every loss, every moment of suffering or joy, was held inside this same great order. Nothing fell outside of it. Nothing could. To say that something happened by pure accident was to their eyes the same as saying the sun rose by accident. It simply made no sense. This was not a blind or fearful belief. The rishis were sharp and careful thinkers. They observed the world closely and came to see that even when the cause of an event was hidden from human eyes, the cause was still there. The order was still intact. The universe, they taught, is not a place where things simply happen to you. It is a living, aware, deeply structured whole, and you are a living, aware part of it. This understanding became the ground on which all of Hindu thought about life, fate, and freedom was later built. Part 2. Rita, the cosmic order that precedes even the gods. Built on that foundation, the tradition moves to something even more ancient and more total than any god or any law that a god might choose to enforce. Rita is the word the Vedic rishis used for this. It means something like the right order of things, but that translation is too small. Rita is not a rule written down somewhere. It is not a command given by a higher being. It is the structure of reality itself, the way existence is arranged from the inside out. When the sun rises, it rises because of Rita. When rain falls and rivers flow to the sea, they do so because of Rita. When a person speaks the truth, something in the cosmos receives that truth and holds it. When a person lies, something in the cosmos is disturbed. That disturbance is also Rita working, correcting, restoring, returning things to what they should be. What makes Rita so striking, and what sets it apart from the way many other traditions think about divine order, is this: even the gods are below it. In the Rig Veda, the great god Varuna, lord of the sky, keeper of the waters, the one who watches every human action, is described not as the maker of Rita, but as its guardian. He protects it, he upholds it, but he did not create it. Neither did Mitra, who stands beside him. The order they serve was there before them. It will be there after them. The gods themselves act rightly when they act in agreement with Rita, and even a god who violated Rita would be acting wrongly. This is not a small point. It means that cosmic order is not a matter of divine preference or divine will. It is not something that can be suspended because a god chooses to be kind on a particular day. It is the structure within which all things, including the gods, exist. This is why Hindu philosophy at its root cannot make room for pure chance. To say that an event happened randomly, with no cause, no connection to anything before it, no place in any larger pattern, is to say that Rita was, in that moment, simply absent. That reality had a gap in it, that the structure of existence broke down. But the rishis, across generation after generation of careful thought and deep inner seeing, found no such gap. They found that every event, no matter how small or strange, sat inside the order. The cause was sometimes visible, sometimes hidden far back in time, or in realms the eye cannot see. But the cause was always there. The order was always intact. This is the ground Rita provides. Not comfort exactly, not the promise that things will always feel good or make immediate sense to human eyes, but something steadier than comfort. The assurance that existence itself is not broken, that nothing falls outside the structure of what is real, and that every event in a human life, joy, loss, consequence, reversal, is held within an order that does not fail. Part 3. Dharma as the personal expression of cosmic order. If Rita is the great structure that holds all things in place, Dharma is what that structure looks like, inside a single life. Think of it this way. The river has its banks. The sun has its path. The rain has its season. Each thing in the world has a right way of moving, a right shape of being. This is not a rule written by a king or made by a priest. It comes from something deeper, from the same order that keeps the stars from falling. For every person born into this world, there is also such a right shape. A warrior has his dharma. A teacher has his dharma. A father has his dharma. A king has his. These are not the same, and they are not meant to be. What is right for one is not right for another. But each dharma, however different, points toward the same hidden order, the Rita that holds all things. When a man lives his Dharma truly, when he acts from his real nature, fulfills his real duty, walks the path that is genuinely his, he moves with the current of existence. Things flow, not always easily, not always without pain, but rightly. There is a deep steadiness, even in hardship, when a person is living in alignment with what they truly are. But when a man turns away from his Dharma, when a warrior acts as a coward, when a king rules like a thief, when a teacher spreads lies, something tears. Not in some far place, right here, in the family, in the village, in the mind of the man himself. Confusion comes, suffering spreads, things fall apart. The Bhagavad Gita speaks of this plainly. When Krishna tells Arjuna to rise and fight, he is not commanding him toward violence for its own sake. He is pointing Arjuna back to his own Dharma, the Dharma of a Kshatriya, a warrior, called to protect what is right, even at great cost. To walk away would not be peace, it would be a Dharma, a turning against one's own deep nature, and a tearing of the order that holds life together. This is why nothing that happens to a person is truly accidental. If a man lives according to his Dharma, what comes to him comes in harmony with the order of things. If he has abandoned his Dharma, what comes will carry the weight of that abandonment. Not because a god sits in judgment and decides to punish him, but because existence has a structure, and that structure responds. A tree that grows away from the light does not need to be condemned, it simply weakens on its own. The suffering that comes from a Dharma is not a curse from outside, it is the natural result of moving against the grain of what is real. And the order that produces that consequence is the very same order that, when honored, holds a life steady, even through great storms. Part 4. Yadriccha and the philosophical acknowledgement of apparent chance. Ancient Hindu philosophers were not naive. They looked at the world with clear eyes. They saw floods that came without warning. They saw good people struck by sudden illness. They saw fires start from nowhere, kings fall without reason, and children born into suffering they did not earn. They did not look away from these things. They asked, honestly and carefully, what these events really were. This is where the idea of Yadriccha entered the conversation. The word Yadriccha comes from the Sanskrit roots meaning, as it wills, or by itself. It points to events that seem to arise on their own, with no clear cause, no prior plan, no visible chain of action leading to them. A fruit falls from a tree at the exact moment a crow lands on the branch. Was the crow the cause? Was it the wind? Was it simply the fruit's own time? Or did it happen by pure accident, with no cause at all? The thinkers of the Nyaya school, one of the 6 great systems of Hindu philosophy, took this question seriously. They did not simply say, everything is ordered, and leave it there. They sat with the discomfort of apparent chance. They built careful arguments. They examined what it would actually mean for an event to have no cause whatsoever. Their conclusion was sharp and clear. An event with no cause at all could not happen at all. For a thing to exist in one moment and not in another, for it to change, move, appear or disappear, something must have acted upon it. The absence of cause is not a kind of cause. It is nothing, and nothing produces nothing. What human beings call chance or accident is not the absence of cause, it is the absence of visible cause. These are not the same thing. When a man cannot see the fire, he does not conclude there is no fire. When a man cannot trace the cause of an event, he cannot honestly conclude there is no cause. He can only say he does not yet see it. The Vaisheshika thinkers went further. They mapped the structure of causation itself, what kinds of causes exist, how they combine, and how effects arise from specific configurations of prior conditions. Their work showed that the world is not a loose collection of events bumping into each other. It is a structured field in which every arising has its reasons, even when those reasons are buried in chains of prior action, too long and too fine for ordinary human sight to follow. Later Mimamsa philosophers approached the same question from the angle of ritual and action. They were less interested in metaphysical mapping and more interested in the practical truth that every action carries a consequence, not sometimes, not usually, but always. The fruit of action, they argued, does not vanish simply because it cannot yet be seen. It waits, it matures, it arrives in its own time. What emerges from all 3 schools is the same fundamental understanding, reached by different paths. The universe does not have gaps in its causation. Apparent chance is a word human beings use when their sight is short. It describes the limit of human perception, not the limit of cosmic order. Yadriccha, as a genuine ontological category, as actual uncaused existence, was examined honestly by these thinkers, and found to be empty. Not because they refused to look, but because they looked carefully and found nothing there to support it. This is not a comfortable teaching. It means that when suffering arrives without explanation, the absence of a visible cause is not evidence of meaninglessness. It means the roots go deeper than the eye can reach. It means the order that holds the stars in their courses also holds every small and painful event, in a web of causation that a single human life may not be long enough or clear enough to trace. And yet, the order holds, whether it is seen or not. Part 5. The Gunas, how nature's 3 forces shape every unfolding event. Beneath the surface of every event, every rise, every ruin, every quiet moment of peace, The tradition of Samkhya sees three forces at work. They are called the Gunas, and they are not symbols or metaphors. They are the actual substance of the material world. Everything that exists in Prakriti, everything that can be touched, felt, fought, or experienced, is made of these three in different combinations. Nothing in the created world stands outside them. The first is tamas. It is heaviness, stillness, darkness, and delay. It is the quality of sleep, of confusion, of matter that resists movement. The second is rajas. It is heat, motion, desire, and force. It is the quality of storms, of ambition, of the mind that cannot sit still. The third is sattva. It is light, clarity, balance, and knowing. It is the quality of wisdom, of a calm mind, of action done without greed or fear. These three are always present together. None of them ever fully disappears. But in every moment, in every person, in every age of the world, one of them is stronger than the others. And that balance, or imbalance, shapes what happens. When tamas is dominant in a person, they become slow, confused, and unable to see clearly. Their choices are dull. The events they bring about carry the weight of that darkness. When rajas dominates, there is fire and movement, but without direction, it burns what it touches. Wars begin in rajas. Greed comes from rajas. When sattva rises, clarity comes with it. Right action becomes possible. The causes a person sets in motion from that state produce cleaner, calmer fruits. This is not fate imposed from outside. The Guna teaching says the world unfolds according to the internal state of its participants. A society dominated by tamas will decay. A person burning with unchecked rajas will create suffering. This is not accident. This is the internal logic of how the three forces move and interact. The Bhagavad Gita speaks to this directly. Krishna says to Arjuna, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, these gunas born of Prakriti, bind the unchanging soul to the body. Among these, Sattva, being pure, gives light and health. It binds through attachment to happiness and to knowledge. Rajas is of the nature of passion, born of thirst and desire. It binds the soul through attachment to action. Tamas, born of ignorance, deludes all beings. It binds through carelessness, laziness, and sleep. Bhagavad Gita chapter 14 verses 5 through 8. What looks like accident from the outside is, by this understanding, the visible surface of forces that have been building beneath. An event does not arrive without a guna-shaped history behind it. The collapse of a kingdom, the deterioration of a mind, the sudden clarity that changes a life. Each arises from the gunas in motion. Each is the natural expression of which force has grown strong enough to break through into visible form. The three gunas do not care about human preference. They move according to their own nature. But a person who understands them can begin to see not just what is happening, but why, and more than that, can begin to work with the forces rather than be swept along by them without knowing it. Chapter 2. Karma. The Architecture of Cause and Effect Across Lifetimes. Part 1. The Foundational Law. Every action creates an indelible impression. Then the Lord said, every act you do, every word you speak, every thought you think, none of it vanishes. It stays. It presses into you like a seal pressed into soft clay. This mark is called a samskara. You carry it. And one day, when the time is right, it rises back up and becomes your experience. This is the law of karma. The sages who sat in deep stillness and looked far into the nature of things all saw the same truth. It is written in the Upanishads. It is spoken by Krishna in the Gita. It is explained by the great Vedantic teachers who came after. All of them point to the same simple reality. Nothing you do is lost. The world does not forget. The soul does not forget. If you plant a seed in the ground, you do not see the tree yet, but the tree is already promised. In the same way, every action you take plants a seed in the subtle part of your being, not in your body, but in something deeper than the body. Something that stays with you even after the body dies. When people ask why something happened to them, they are really asking about these seeds. The event that arrived today may have grown from a seed planted long ago, perhaps in this life, perhaps before it. The cause is real. The connection is real. It is only that human eyes cannot see the full distance between the planting and the fruit. This is not a mystery without an answer. It is an equation, a perfect and complete equation. The only difficulty is that the numbers are too many for ordinary human eyes to count. The mind that cannot see across many lives will always feel confused by what it receives. But the confusion is in the seeing, not in the law itself. The law is exact. The law does not make mistakes. What you send out comes back. What you have sent before is already returning. And what you do right now is already on its way back to you. Part 2. Sanchita, Prarabdha, and Agami, the three layers of karmic debt. Think of your life as a giant storage room. In that room, every single thing you have ever done, in this life and in every life before this one, is kept. Nothing has been thrown away. Nothing has been forgotten. Every good act, every bad act, every thought, every word, all of it is sitting there, stored, waiting. This is what Hindu teachers call Sanchita karma. The word simply means that which has been collected. It is the full total of everything you have ever done across all your lives, put together. It is enormous. It is more than any one lifetime could ever use up or experience. So not all of it comes to you at once. Before you are born into a new life, a small piece of that giant storehouse is taken out. Just a piece. This piece becomes the life you are living right now. The family you were born into, the body you have, the circumstances you could not choose, the things that happen to you that feel fixed and impossible to change. This is Prarabdha karma. It means that which has already begun. It is already running. It is already in motion. You cannot stop it or send it back. It must play out. This is why two people can live in the same town, follow the same religion, try equally hard, and still have completely different lives. One is born healthy, the other sick. One is born into wealth, the other into nothing. From outside, it looks unfair. But Prarabdha says the difference did not begin at birth. It began many lives ago. And then there is the third kind. Right now, today, with every choice you make, you are creating new karma. The teachers call this Agami karma. It means that which is coming. Every act of kindness you do today, every act of cruelty, every lie or truth, all of it is being added to the storehouse. Some of it will come back in this life. Some will wait for future lives. So here's how all three work together. You arrive in a life carrying the effects of Prarabdha. These are your fixed conditions. But within those conditions, you still have choices. Those choices are Agami, new karma being made. And all of it, old and new, goes into Sanchita, the great storehouse that travels with your soul from life to life. This is why a good person sometimes suffers greatly. It is not because goodness is being punished. The suffering belongs to Prarabdha, to something old, something already set in motion, long before this body was born. And this is also why a wicked person sometimes seems to enjoy comfort and success. Their old good karma from a previous life is still paying out. But the new actions they are taking now are building a different future, one they cannot yet see. The law is not slow because it is weak. It is slow because the account is very large. Part 3. Collective Karma. How nations, families, and civilizations share karmic destiny. Karma does not belong to the individual alone. This is one of the deep truths that the holy teachings make clear. Just as one person carries the weight of their own past actions, so too does a family carry the weight of what it has done together. And a village carries what the village has done. And a nation carries what the nation has done. This is what the wise call samashti karma, the karma of the group, the shared account of many souls moving through time together. Think of a family that has for many generations acted with greed, cruelty, or dishonesty. The children born into that family are not born there by accident. They come to that family because their own karma and the karma of that family are matched. The suffering or the blessings that come to that family are not only about one person. They are the fruit of what many have planted together over a long time. The same is true for whole nations and whole peoples. When a nation chooses war, when its people choose hatred, when its leaders choose to crush the weak and take what is not theirs, these choices do not vanish. They go into the great account. And when the time comes, the account must be settled. The wars that destroy a people, the famines that empty a land, the sicknesses that spread across a country, these are not sent by chance. They are the harvest of what was sown by many hands over many years. This is not a teaching of cruelty, it is a teaching of truth. The holy texts do not say that the people who suffer in such times are all evil. Many innocent ones suffer alongside the guilty. But when a collective moral account ripens, it ripens over the whole field, not just over one corner of it. And here is the teaching that each person must hold in their heart. What you do matters beyond yourself. When you act with goodness, honesty, and care for others, you are not only building your own future, you are adding something clean and bright to the shared account of your family, your people, your world. And when you act with selfishness, cruelty, or falsehood, you are not only harming yourself, you are placing a small stone of darkness into the account that others will one day have to carry with you. No person lives in a world of their own making alone. We are all part of something larger, and the moral weight of what we choose is always shared. Part 4. Does karma mean fatalism? The crucial distinction between niyati and karma. So we have seen that karma moves not only through single lives, but through families, peoples, and entire ages of the world. The weight of what we do together is real, but now a very natural question arises in the mind. If everything that happens to me is the fruit of what was done before, by me, by my family, by my people, then what is the point of what I do now? Is everything already decided? Am I simply living out a script that was written before I was born? This is one of the oldest questions in the whole of Hindu thought. And the holy texts answer it very clearly. They say no, not everything is already decided. And the man who sits still and does nothing, believing fate alone will carry him, is making a very great mistake. The Mahabharata, that vast and ancient story, places this question in the mouths of its greatest heroes and sages. Bhishma, lying on his bed of arrows, speaks to Yudhishthira and says that both fate and effort are real. He says that a man who relies on fate alone and makes no effort is like a man who does not plant a seed and then waits for grain to grow. The seed is your effort. The rain and the soil are fate. Both are needed. Neither alone is enough. The holy sages gave two different names to two different things, and this is the key. They called fixed fate Niyati. Niyati is what comes from what has already been done, in lives before this one, in choices already made. The family you are born into, the body you carry, the broad shape of the life that opens before you. These things come from the past, from Prarabdha, the karma already set in motion. This part you did not choose today. It was chosen by what you did before. But karma as a living law is something different. Karma is Agami, the new actions you are taking right now, with your hands, your words, and your mind. These are not fixed, these are yours to make. Every moment of real choice that stands before you is open. The path behind you is shaped by the past, the path ahead is being shaped by you, right now, in this moment. The Yoga Vasishtha, one of the most direct of all the holy books on this matter, says something very bold. It says that what you call fate is nothing but your own past effort, wearing a different face. It says that a man who cries that fate has ruined him is simply a man who has forgotten that he himself built the thing that now stands before him. And because he built it with effort once, he can change it with effort now. The book does not leave the person helpless. It points the finger back, not to shame, but to give back the power. And then there is the Bhagavad Gita, spoken on the great battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna sat down in despair. He dropped his bow. He said there was no point in fighting, no point in acting, that the grief was too great and the outcome too uncertain. And what did Krishna say? Krishna did not say, sit still, it is all decided, let fate carry you. He said the opposite. He said, rise. He said, do your duty. He said, act, but do not attach yourself to the fruit of your action. He said that a man who gives up action by saying fate will decide is not wise. He is simply hiding his fear behind a noble-sounding word. This is the great and simple truth the holy books are telling us. Karma is not a prison, it is not a wall built around you that you cannot touch. It is the name of a law, the same law that says if you plant a mango seed, a mango tree will grow. The seed you planted before is already in the ground, you cannot dig it out. But the seeds you are planting right now, those are still in your hand. You are not a helpless creature watching a story that was already written. You are the one writing the next line, even now. The past gave you the page you are on. The future belongs to what you choose to write. Part 5. Karma and the Problem of Evil. Why the Innocents Suffer. Then a man stood before Krishna and said, Lord, I have seen a child who never sinned, yet she was born into great pain. I have seen a good man who prayed every day, yet sickness took him early. I have seen a whole village washed away by floods, people who did no wrong. Tell me, Lord, how can this be just? And Krishna answered, you see one page and call it the whole book. You see one room and say you know the whole house. But the soul is not born once. It has walked through many lives, worn many bodies, made many choices, some full of light, some full of darkness. What the child carries into this life is not the weight of this life alone. It is the weight of all that came before, seeds planted in other times, in other bodies, which have now come to fruit. This is Prarabdha, the portion of all past actions that has been set into motion for this life. The way an arrow already released cannot be called back. The hand that drew the bow is gone, the arrow is already in the air. But who drew that bow? The same soul, in another time. Do not say the child is innocent, meaning the soul is innocent. The soul is ancient. It has lived and acted and chosen across more lifetimes than you can count. What you see as cruelty, I see as a settling of accounts written long before this birth. And yet, do not use this truth to close your heart. Vivekananda said, yes, suffering has a cause, but the cause does not make it less real to the one who bleeds. When you see a man fall, you do not stand over him and speak of karma. You reach down and lift him. The law explains what is. It does not tell you to do nothing. Ramana Maharshi spoke differently still. He said the one who suffers and the one who asks why, both are appearances in the one self. When you know who you truly are, the question of injustice loses its ground. The wave does not ask why it rises and falls. It is the ocean. So know the law, let it answer your mind, but let compassion answer your hands. Chapter 3. Daiva and Purushartha, the great tension between fate and human will. Part 1. Daiva, the divine will that operates beyond individual karma. There exists, beyond the web of every person's own karma, a force that the ancient teachers called Daiva. This word means the will of the divine, the hand of God moving over all things, arranging what must happen not because of what any one person has done, but because the whole of creation follows a great plan that is larger than any single life. The Rig Veda speaks of this when it says that the gods hold the threads of all things in their hands. It is not the thread of your deeds alone that pulls you forward. There is a thread held from above, and that thread belongs to Ishvara, the Lord who stands above all karmic accounts, who sees not just your life, but the life of every being across all time. In the Puranas, this teaching is told again and again through story. A king does good all his life and still loses his kingdom. A humble man who has done little of note is suddenly raised up and blessed. The ordinary mind says, this cannot be fair. But the teaching answers, you are not seeing the whole. Daiva is not a punishment, it is not a reward. It is the divine arranging things according to a plan so vast that no human eye can read it. The Mahabharata puts it plainly. Even the greatest of warriors, even the wisest of kings, found themselves carried by a current they did not choose and could not stop. Bhishma, who had tremendous strength and perfect vows, was laid low not because his karma demanded it, but because the hour had come that was written in the divine order. Karna, whose goodness no one could deny, met his end not simply as a return of past deeds, but as part of something ordained beyond him. This is the teaching of Daiva. Your karma is real, your deeds matter. But above the careful scale of cause and effect, the Lord holds a wider purpose. And there are moments, certain births, certain deaths, certain meetings, certain endings, that belong not to you alone, but to the great design that Brahman itself is writing through time. Part 2. The Mahabharata's central question, fate versus effort. Then came the Great War. And before it came, there was a question. A question so big and so painful that the greatest archer in the world put down his bow and sat in the middle of the battlefield and could not move. Arjuna looked across at the two armies. He saw his teachers, he saw his cousins, he saw men he had loved since he was a child. And he said to Krishna, what is the use of fighting? What is the use of winning a kingdom if the people I love will be dead? Let them kill me. I will not fight. This was not weakness. This was the most honest moment in the entire Mahabharata. Arjuna was asking the question that every human being eventually asks when life becomes very hard. Does anything I do actually matter? Or is everything already decided? This question, the question of fate against effort, sits at the very heart of the Mahabharata, not in one place, but everywhere. It is in every major story the epic tells. Look at Yudhishthira. He was a good man. He followed Dharma his whole life. He never lied. He ruled justly. And yet he sat in a dice hall and watched everything he had built, his kingdom, his brothers, his wife, taken from him piece by piece because he could not stop gambling. Was that fate? Was that his own weakness? Was it both? The Mahabharata does not give a clean answer. It just shows you what happened. Look at Draupadi. She was dragged into that same hall while her 5 husbands sat in silence. She called out. She asked one of the most powerful questions any woman has ever asked in any holy book. If Yudhishthira lost himself first, did he even have the right to stake me afterward? She cried out to Krishna. And Krishna, who could have stopped everything, let it happen. Why? The Mahabharata does not fully explain. It only shows that she cried, and the hall grew quiet, and the robes came, and somehow they never ended. Was this fate? Was it karma from another life? Was it the divine order working through a painful moment towards something the characters could not yet see? Look at Karna, born with divine armor on his body, son of the sun god, abandoned by his mother, raised as a charioteer's son, rejected by the teachers of high birth. He spent his whole life striving, fighting harder, giving more, staying loyal to Duryodhana even when it was wrong, because effort was the only thing he had, and yet he died. Not because he was evil, not simply because of his deeds. He died because something had been set in motion long before he was born, something he could not fight his way out of, no matter how hard he tried. The Mahabharata does not resolve this tension. That is the whole point. The epic holds fate and effort in the same hand at the same time. It says yes, there are forces beyond you, and yes, what you do is real, and no, it is not simple, and no, it is not finished, and that is why the Mahabharata still matters today. You cannot always tell in the moment which force is which. You fight. You choose, you act, and something larger than you is also moving. Both things are true at the same time. This is not a comfortable teaching. It was not meant to be. The Mahabharata is not a story that gives easy rest to the mind. It is a story that holds up the full weight of human life and says, this is what it looks like. This is the tension you live inside every day of your life. You are not imagining it. It is real. And the teaching that comes from this, the teaching that Purushartha and Daiva together are trying to say, is not that one wins over the other. It is that both are always present. Your effort matters. The divine order also moves, and a wise person does not collapse into either complete surrender or complete self-reliance, but learns to hold both at once. Part 3. Purushartha. The 4 goals and the doctrine of meaningful human striving. What comes to you is called Daiva. What you reach for is called Purushartha. And it is in this reaching, in this honest, determined human striving, that the scripture finds something sacred. The wise ones who saw clearly and spoke the ancient words did not tell the human being to sit still and wait. They said, you have 4 great things to move toward. These 4 are the full shape of a human life lived well and with meaning. The first is Dharma. This means doing what is right, acting in the way that holds the world together, fulfilling your duties, living honestly, treating others as they deserve to be treated. Dharma is not just a rule from outside, it is the order written into the nature of things, and when you follow it, you walk with the world instead of against it. The second is Artha. This means seeking the things you need to live: food, shelter, wealth, work, strength in the world. The scripture does not say this is shameful. It says this is part of what a human being is meant to do. To care for yourself and those who depend on you is not a lesser goal, it is one of the 4. The third is Kama. This means desire, beauty, love, and the pleasure of being alive. The holy teaching does not turn its face away from this. It says that desire, when lived rightly, is part of the full human life. To feel joy is not an error. To want good things is not a sin. Kama is a gift, but it is a gift to be held in the hand of Dharma, not carried away by it. The fourth is moksha. This means freedom, the full and final freedom from the turning wheel of birth and death, of wanting and losing, of seeking and falling short. Moksha is the highest of the four, and the scripture says that it can be reached, not by accident, and not by chance, but by the sincere and continued striving of a human soul who turns toward the light and does not stop. Here is what this teaching says to the whole question of fate and will. If moksha can be reached by effort, then the universe is built to receive that effort. The cosmos is not closed, it is not a wall, it is a door, and the door can be opened, not by luck and not by force, but by a life lived with awareness, sincerity, and the full use of all four goals together. This is why the doctrine of the four Purusharthas stands as a quiet but firm refusal of fatalism. It does not say your life is written and you cannot change it. It says your life has direction. Part 4. Ishvara Prasada, when divine grace intervenes beyond karmic logic. And yet, even within this ordered universe, where karma accounts for action and consequence, and where the four Purusharthas confirm that effort is real and meaningful, Hindu theistic philosophy points to something that sits outside the equation entirely. It does not cancel karma. It does not say effort is useless, but it says that God is not a machine. God is a person, and persons can choose to give gifts. This is Ishvara Prasada, grace, the free gift of God's favor. The word prasada in its simplest sense means what remains after an offering is made to God. The food returned from the altar, now blessed. You give something to God, and God gives something back. But what comes back is not measured. It is not calculated. It is more than what was given. This asymmetry is the whole point. Grace by its nature cannot be earned in the way a wage is earned. If it could be earned exactly, it would no longer be grace, it would be payment. Ramanuja, the great teacher of Vishishtadvaita, the school that sees the world and all souls as the living body of God, placed Ishvara Prasada at the very center of liberation. For Ramanuja, the soul cannot reach moksha on its own. Karma can purify, effort can prepare, devotion can open the door. But the final step, the crossing over from bondage to freedom, is taken not by the soul alone, but by God reaching down and completing what the soul cannot complete by itself. This is not a small claim. It means that even a fully ripe soul, one that has done everything right, still waits for grace. And a soul that is not yet fully ripe can sometimes be carried across by grace anyway, before its full karmic account is settled, because God is not only just, God is also loving. The Bhakti tradition makes this even plainer. The saints of the Alvars and the Nayanmars, the poet devotees of Vishnu and Shiva, spoke of a love between God and the soul so intense that ordinary rules bend around it. Namalvar, the Tamil Vaishnava saint, sang of God coming to him not because he deserved it, but because God could not help it. The devotee's longing calls something out of God that logic cannot explain. This is prasada in its fullest form, not a transaction, but an overflow. The apparent conflict between a lawful cosmos and miraculous grace is real, and Hindu philosophy does not pretend otherwise. How can a universe run on karma, where every cause has its effect, also contain moments where the karmic chain is simply set aside? Ramanuja's answer is careful. God is not outside the law. God is the ground of the law. The one who makes a law also holds the authority to act within it, in ways that appear from the inside to be exceptions. What looks like a miracle from the human side is from God's side simply an expression of a deeper consistency, the consistency of love. The Bhagavad Gita itself points to this, when Krishna says to Arjuna, "Fix your mind on me, be devoted to me, worship me, bow down to me. You will come to me, I promise you truly, for you are dear to me." Bhagavad Gita 1865. There is no karmic formula in that verse. There is only a personal promise from a personal God to a person who is loved. The universe is lawful, but the Lord of the universe loves, and both of these things are true at the same time. Part 5. The Yoga Vasishtha's radical answer. Pure consciousness creates all events. The sage Vasishtha spoke to Rama, and his words were like a lamp placed inside a dark room. He said, "O Rama, know this, the world you see is not outside you. It rises in you, like a dream rises in a sleeping man. The mountains, the rivers, the people you love, the enemies you fear, all of these appear inside the one great consciousness, the way images appear inside a clear mirror. The mirror does not go anywhere. The mirror does not change, but countless faces appear in it, and disappear, and appear again. What you call fate, that is one wave in this ocean. What you call your own effort, that too is another wave in the same ocean. The wave does not stand apart from the water. There is no wave that is not water. So fate and effort, accident and plan, cause and result, these are all just movements inside the one thing that always was, always is, and always will be. That one thing is pure awareness. That one thing is what you are. This is why Rama, when you ask, did this happen because of my karma, or because of God's will, or by chance? You are like a man inside a dream, asking whether his dream troubles came from dream fate or dream effort. Both belong to the dream. You, the one who is truly awake, are not touched by either. The events of our life do not come to you from outside. They are made of the same stuff as the one who experiences them. The knower and the known are one. The seer and the seen are one. When you know this, not only as a thought, but as the truth you live in, then you are free. Not free from events, free inside them. The river still flows, the rain still falls, but you know what you are, and what you are cannot be shaken. This is the teaching Vasishtha gave. Not to escape the world, not to deny karma, not to stop acting, but to see clearly where all events arise, in the one boundless consciousness that you already are, and have never for even one moment stopped being. Chapter 4. Advaita Vedanta, where the question of cause and chance dissolves. Part 1. The two levels of truth, Vyavaharika and Paramarthika reality. There are two ways to see the world. Both are true, but they are true at different levels. The first way is the way you live every day. You wake up in the morning. You make choices. Things happen to you. Some things feel like rewards. Some things feel like punishment. Causes lead to effects. Your past actions shape your present life. This is the level called Vyavaharika. It is the real working world of karma and time and consequence. At this level, nothing happens by accident. Every event has a reason. Every cause has an effect. The laws of karma, the pull of Dharma, the force of Daiva, all of these move together, shaping every moment of your life. The second way is the deepest truth. At this level, there is only Brahman. Brahman is the one, undivided, pure existence that has no beginning and no end. At this level, there are no events. There is no before and no after. There is no cause and no effect. There is no question of why something happened, because nothing has truly happened at all. This is the level called Paramarthika. It is the truth behind all truths. Now you may ask, how can both be true at once? Think of a river. While you stand on the bank, the river is real. You can drink from it. You can drown in it. You must respect it. But if you go deep enough into understanding what the river truly is, you find that it is nothing but water. The waves, the current, the direction, all of this is the river as you experience it. The water itself does not go anywhere. It does not rise or fall. It simply is. In the same way, at the Vyavaharika level, all the events of your life are fully real and fully meaningful. You must not ignore them. You must act, take responsibility, follow Dharma, and understand karma. None of that becomes false just because a higher truth exists. But at the Paramarthika level, beneath all of this movement, there is only the stillness of Brahman. No event has ever scratched it. No loss has ever reached it. No accident has ever touched it. Adi Shankaracharya taught that wisdom is not choosing one level over the other. It is seeing both clearly, without mixing them up, and without throwing either one away. Part 2. Maya. Why the appearance of events feels real, but is ultimately superimposed. Now, understand this clearly. Maya is not a dream you have when you sleep. It is not a trick of the mind that makes you see things that are not there. Maya is something far deeper and far more mysterious. It is the power by which the one, whole, endless Brahman, which has no parts, no edges, no beginning and no end, appears to become a world full of separate things, separate people, separate moments, and separate events. Think of it this way. The sun is one, but when sunlight falls on moving water, you see hundreds of dancing lights on the ground. The lights are not false, you truly see them, but they are not separate suns either. The one light appears as many. This is close to what Maya does. Brahman, which is one and undivided, appears through Maya as a world of many. Many births, many deaths, many wars, many joys, many losses. Every event you have ever lived through, the day you were born, the day someone you loved left, the moment something changed your life forever, all of it appeared on the surface of pure consciousness, the way a picture appears on a clean white screen. The screen did not become the picture. The screen was never touched by the picture. And when the picture ended, the screen remained exactly as it was before. This is what the teachers of Advaita Vedanta call ajaropa, a superimposition. You see a rope lying on the ground in low light, and for a moment, you are certain it is a snake. Your fear is real. Your body reacts. But the snake was never there. When you look more closely and see it as a rope, nothing happened to the rope. It was always a rope. The snake was superimposed on it. In the same way, the entire chain of events, cause and effect, accident and intention, gain and loss, is superimposed on Brahman, which never actually became any of these things. This does not mean your life means nothing. It does not mean you should sit still and care about nothing. What it means is simpler and more freeing than that. It means that the deepest part of what you are, pure, still, aware, has never been harmed by any event. Not one, not ever. And knowing that, truly knowing it, is what the Upanishads call liberation. Part 3. Brahman as the only true cause, the doctrine of Vivartavada. So if Maya is the power that makes appearances seem real, what is the appearance actually appearing within? This is where the doctrine of Vivartavada answers with great precision. The word Vivarta means apparent transformation, a change that seems to happen but does not truly happen. To understand this, think of a simple scene. You are walking at dusk. On the path ahead you see a snake. Your heart jumps. Fear fills your body. But when someone brings a lamp closer, you see it is only a rope. The rope never became a snake. The snake never existed. And yet the experience of seeing the snake was completely real to you in that moment. Real enough to cause fear. Real enough to make you stop walking. This is exactly how Advaita Vedanta understands the relationship between Brahman and the world of events. Brahman did not truly become the world. The world appears within Brahman, the way the snake appears within the rope, without Brahman itself changing even slightly. This is what Adi Shankaracharya taught. This is what separates Advaita from other schools of thought. Ramanuja and the Samkhya thinkers accepted what is called Parinamavada, real transformation. In that view, the cause truly becomes the effect, the way milk truly becomes curd. Curd is real, the change is real, the clay truly becomes the pot. But Shankaracharya said no, the world is not like curd from milk. The world is like the snake on the rope. The substratum, Brahman, never actually changed. What changed was only your seeing. The implications of this are very direct. If the world is a vivarta, an apparent transformation of Brahman, then every single event inside that world, every cause, every effect, every accident, every so-called coincidence, is itself part of that appearance. Not one event stands outside of it. Not one cause is more real than another. What you call the reason something happened, and what you call the random chance behind it, are both movements inside the same appearance. Brahman itself does not cause events the way one billiard ball causes another to move. Brahman is the ground in which the entire game of cause and effect appears, without being touched by any of it. This is not a comfortable idea at first. The mind wants a cause it can hold. It wants a reason it can find, trace back, and understand. Vivartavada says that this search, though valid and necessary at the level of ordinary life, will never reach the final answer, because the question and the questioner both belong to the appearance. What remains when the appearance is seen clearly for what it is not emptiness. What remains is Brahman, full, still, and entirely without cause. Part 4. Ramana Maharshi on events, self, and the dissolution of the questioner. A man came to Ramana Maharshi and asked him the same question that every human heart has asked at some point. He asked, "Why did this happen to me?" Ramana looked at him quietly. Then he asked something back. He said, "Who is this me that things happen to?" This was not a clever trick. This was the entire teaching. Ramana taught that before you ask why an event happened, you must first look at who is asking. There is a feeling inside each of us that says, I am here. I am the one experiencing this. I am the one things happen to. Ramana said, find that I. Look for it. Where is it? What is it made of? When you look for the I very honestly, something strange happens. You cannot find it as a solid, separate thing. You look, and what you find is not a little self sitting inside the body. What you find is awareness itself, open, still, with no edges and no beginning. Ramana said that this is the real discovery. The one who thought events were happening to them was never truly a separate person to begin with. The I that felt hurt, or lucky, or punished, or blessed by events, that I was an appearance, like a wave that thinks it is separate from the ocean. When a visitor asked Ramana about fate and free will, about whether events are fixed or chosen, Ramana gave an answer that cut through both sides of the argument. He said that both fate and free will belong to the person, and the person, when truly examined, is found to have no independent existence apart from the self. So both questions, is this fate? Did I choose this? Lose their grip the moment the one asking them is clearly seen. This is not a teaching that tells you to stop caring about what happens. Ramana himself never said that events do not matter. He said that the one who believes they are only a limited separate self is the one who suffers most from events. When that belief is seen through, events continue, but they can no longer trap you. They arise, they pass, the awareness in which they come and go remains untouched, the way a mirror remains clean, regardless of what it reflects. In his recorded conversations, a devotee once pressed him directly, is a person's life already written out? Is everything decided? Ramana replied simply that the question only has weight as long as you believe yourself to be an individual separate from the whole. Find out who you truly are, he said, and the question will answer itself, not through an argument, but through direct seeing. This is where Advaita Vedanta becomes something more than philosophy. In Ramana's hands, the ancient question of why events happen becomes a door. The door does not lead to an explanation, it leads to the one who is asking, and beyond that, to the silence that was always already there before any question arose. Part 5. Living with the Mystery, How Vedanta Reconciles Practical Action with Ultimate Insight. That silence Ramana pointed to is not a cold emptiness. It is the very ground from which all of life rises and into which all of life returns. And it is here, in this silence, that Advaita Vedanta offers its final and most practical gift. There is a misunderstanding that often follows when a person first meets Advaitic teaching. They hear that the world is Maya, that the self is not real as a separate thing, that Brahman alone is true. And they think this means they should stop acting, stop caring, stop trying. They think wisdom means withdrawal. But Shankaracharya himself walked thousands of miles across India. He debated scholars, established monasteries, wrote hundreds of pages of careful argument, and spent his short life in constant, purposeful movement. He did not sit still and wait for the world to dissolve. The teaching is not that action is wrong. The teaching is that you must understand what you are when you act. At the level of daily life, the level Advaita calls Vyavaharika, karma is real, Dharma is real, your choices carry weight, and your effort matters. You plant a field, you study, you speak a kind word or a cruel one, and these things have consequences that move forward through time. At this level, nothing is random. Cause and effect hold firm. The wise person takes this seriously. But beneath that whole moving world, at the level Advaita calls Paramarthika, there is Brahman, still, whole, unchanged, untouched by any event that has ever appeared to happen. No birth has disturbed it, no death has reached it, no war, no joy, no sorrow has made even the smallest mark upon it. It was whole before the universe appeared, it remains whole within every moment of the universe, and it will be whole when all appearance has passed. These two levels do not fight each other. They exist together, the way the surface of a lake moves with every wind, while the water at the deepest point stays still. The person who understands this lives differently. They act fully, because action at the daily level is real and matters. They carry their dharma with seriousness. They work through the four goals of Purushartha, Artha, Kama, Dharma, Moksha, without cutting any of them short. They feel grief when grief comes, and joy when joy comes, because they are human beings living inside a human life. But they are not shaken to the root by any of it. Somewhere in them, something knows that no event, however large, however devastating, however wonderful, has the final word. The final word belongs to that which has never spoken, because it has never needed to. This is the posture Vedanta cultivates. Not detachment in the cold sense, not the face that feels nothing, but the steadiness of a person who is fully present in the drama of existence and simultaneously aware that the drama is appearing within something that cannot be touched by it. The Bhagavad Gita calls this sthita prajna, the one of steady wisdom. Such a person does not wait for life to become easy before they find peace. They find peace inside the difficulty, not by denying the difficulty, but by knowing what they are beneath it. Events will keep coming, good ones and terrible ones, expected and completely surprising, fair-seeming and deeply unjust. Karma will move through them. Dharma will ask something of you in each one. Daiva, that which is beyond your hand, will shape many things you never planned. And through all of it, the silence will remain exactly as it always was. You were never only the one to whom things happened. You were always also the one in whom everything appeared. That is what Advaita Vedanta, at its heart, has always been pointing toward. Not an escape from life, but the recognition of what you truly are within it. Chapter 5. The Bhagavad Gita Synthesis, Acting Without Being Enslaved by Outcomes. Part 1. The battlefield as the perfect stage for the question of why things happen. Arjuna stood at the center of Kurukshetra, between two great armies. His bow, Gandiva, slipped from his hands. His body shook. He could not stand. He sat down in his chariot and said to Krishna, "O Krishna, I see my own teachers, my uncles, my brothers, my sons, standing on the other side, ready to fight. My mouth is dry. My body is cold. I do not want victory. I do not want a kingdom. I do not want any pleasure. What is the use of winning if those I love must die for it? I would rather die myself than kill them." This was not a small fear. This was the deepest fear a human being can feel. The fear that comes when you see how every choice leads to another, how every action carries a consequence, and how those consequences can bring you to a place where every path forward causes pain. Arjuna was not a coward. He was one of the greatest warriors alive. But in that moment, he felt the full weight of everything that had brought him there. Years of choices, betrayals, promises, wrongs done and wrongs suffered, all of it now standing in front of him with weapons in hand. And it was exactly here, in this moment of complete collapse, that Krishna began to speak. Not in a temple, not in a garden, not in peace and comfort. Krishna chose to teach the deepest truth about life, action, and God, right there, in the middle of a battlefield, when the war was about to begin, when time itself seemed to stop. Because this is where the real questions live, not in calm moments, but in the moments when everything is at stake, and you do not know what to do. Krishna looked at Arjuna, and said, "You grieve for those who should not be grieved for, and yet you speak words of wisdom. The wise do not grieve for the living or for the dead. There was never a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. And there will never be a time when any of us will cease to exist." Part 2. Nishkama Karma, Acting Fully Without Attachment to Results. Then Krishna spoke again, and this time his words went to the very heart of why things happen, and what a person must do about it. He said, "You have a right to do your work, but you do not have a right to the fruits of your work. Do not let the results be your reason for acting, but do not stop acting either." These words seem simple, but they carry something very deep inside them. Arjuna had stopped moving. He had dropped his bow. He was sitting in the middle of the battlefield, thinking about what would happen if he fought. He was thinking about winning and losing, about who would die and who would live, about what he would gain and what he would lose, and because he could not control any of those things, he became unable to do anything at all. This is what happens to every person who acts only for the result. When the result feels uncertain, the action becomes impossible. Krishna was not telling Arjuna to stop caring. He was not telling him to be cold or empty inside. He was telling him something much more honest. He was saying, the result is not yours to hold. It never was. The work is yours. Do the work. Do it fully. Do it well. Do it with everything you have. But then, let go of what comes after. Because what comes after belongs to something much larger than you. This is called nishkama karma. Nishkama means without desire for reward. Karma means action. So it means action done fully, without gripping the result. This is not giving up. This is not saying nothing matters. It is saying the opposite. It is saying act as if everything depends on your effort, and at the same time, know that everything rests in the hands of the divine. Both of these things are true at the same time. When you act without clinging to the fruit, you are finally free to act completely. Your hands are not shaking with fear of failure. Your mind is not clouded by the hunger for reward. You simply do what must be done, as well as it can be done, and you place the outcome at the feet of the Lord. This is how the person who understands events truly lives, not running from them, not destroyed by them, acting fully and releasing fully. Part 3. Krishna as Vishwarupa, the divine as the true agent of all events. Then came the moment when Arjuna saw everything. Krishna, his friend and charioteer, revealed to him the Vishwarupa, the universal form. And what Arjuna saw was not a man. It was not even a god in any simple sense. It was everything. The sun and the moon, the fire and the sky. All the gods together in one body. All of creation moving and breathing inside a single endless form. And then Arjuna looked closer. He saw the warriors, all of them, on his side and on the enemy's side, rushing forward into the countless mouths of this cosmic form. Into the great teeth. Being swallowed. Already being swallowed. Before the battle had even begun, they were already gone. Arjuna shook. He asked, trembling, "Who are you, Lord? Tell me." And Krishna answered simply, "I am time, the great destroyer of worlds. I have come here to consume these men. Even without you, all the warriors standing in these two armies will cease to exist." Then he said to Arjuna, "Therefore stand up, win glory, conquer your enemies, and enjoy a prosperous kingdom. All of these men have already been killed by me. You are only the means. You are the instrument in my hand. This is the teaching in its most direct form. It is not that your actions do not matter. They matter completely. But behind your actions, behind your choices, behind every moment that unfolds, there is something larger moving. There is a force that has already seen the end of the story. Time itself, in its full and total form, is the real actor. You and I are the hands through which that greater movement reaches into the world. This does not mean you sit down and do nothing. Krishna did not tell Arjuna to sit down. He told him to rise. He told him to fight. He told him to do his full duty with complete effort. But to know, while he fought, that he was not the one ultimately holding the result in his hands. The event was already written inside the body of time. The human being is not the author of events. The human being is the hand that writes what has already been seen by the eye of the eternal. Part 4. Surrender to Ishvara, Bhakti as the resolution of the fate versus chance dilemma. So Krishna has shown Arjuna that the result of every event is already held inside the body of time. He has shown him that the human being is not the true author. But knowing this with the mind is one thing. Living from this knowing is another. And this is where Krishna gives his final and most direct word. At the very end of the Gita, in chapter 18, Krishna speaks plainly. He says, "Let go of all duties, all rules, all attempts to figure out what is right and what is wrong by your own thinking alone. Come to me. Give yourself completely to me. I will carry you across all your wrongs. Do not be afraid. Do not grieve." This is not Krishna telling Arjuna to become lazy or careless. He is not saying that right and wrong do not matter. He is saying something deeper. He is saying that after all the thinking, after all the understanding of karma and dharma and cosmic form, there is one final step, and that step is not a thought, it is a surrender. It is placing the whole of yourself, your actions, your fears, your results, your confusion, into the hands of the one who already holds everything. This act of complete giving is called Sharanagati. It means taking full shelter. It means stopping the fight to control what cannot be controlled. It does not mean you stop acting. Arjuna still fought his battle, but the weight of the result was no longer sitting on his chest. The great bhakti saints who came after the Gita lived exactly this way. Mirabai gave up her royal life and sang only for Krishna. She did not ask for safety. She did not ask for comfort. She only asked to be near him. Whatever happened to her body, to her name, to her standing in the world, she had already placed all of it in his hands. And because of that, nothing could truly hurt her. Tukaram, A simple man from Maharashtra, lost his first wife, lost his children, lost his grain in floods, was mocked by his village, and was told by people in power that his songs were worthless. But he kept singing. He kept writing his abhangas. He did not blame God. He did not turn away. He said, "You know what I need better than I do. Take everything. Just let me sing your name." Ramakrishna Paramahamsa would weep and cry out for the Divine Mother, like a child crying for its mother in the dark. He was not performing. He was not trying to look holy. He was simply a soul that had placed itself so completely in the care of God that all separation between his will and the divine will had melted away. He did not ask why things happened as they did. He only asked to be held. This is what bhakti does. It does not answer the question of fate and chance with a clever argument. It answers it by changing the one who is asking the question. The question of why this happened, or whether it was meant to be, or whether it was just blind chance, loses its sharpest edge. Not because you stop thinking, but because you stop being afraid of the answer. The person who has surrendered still feels pain, still works hard, still acts with full effort, but they no longer carry the terror that comes from believing that everything depends on them alone. They know that behind every event, there is a presence that sees all of it, holds all of it, and moves through all of it with a purpose that may be too large for the human mind to read, but is real, and is good, and is watching. Part 5. The Gita's enduring answer. Events are the language in which existence speaks. And so, Arjuna, hear now the full truth of what stands behind every moment of your life. You have asked why things happen. You have sat in grief on this great field and wondered whether your suffering was earned, or random, or placed upon you by some force you cannot see. And the answer is this: all of it, every joy, every loss, every meeting, every ending, is the voice of the Eternal speaking to you in the only language the mind can receive. Not words, not commands, but events. Karma is the seed. Dharma is the path. Daiva is the hand of the divine, moving through what your eyes see as fate. Purushartha is your real and genuine freedom to act. Maya is the veil that makes the infinite appear as many separate things. Brahman is the one truth beneath all of it. And bhakti is the heart that finally stops fighting and begins to listen. None of these are in conflict. They are one teaching spoken in many ways. When you act, your action is real. When you choose, your choice matters. And when the result comes, whether it is what you wanted or not, that result too carries meaning. Not because the universe is punishing you or rewarding you like a simple market, but because your soul is moving towards something. And every event, however it feels, is part of that movement. The Gita does not say your life is fixed and you are helpless. It does not say your life is random and nothing matters. It says something far greater than both, that you are a soul inside a creation that is alive, that is aware, and that is always, in every moment, speaking directly to you. You are not a piece of dust blown by wind. You are not a stone rolling down a hill because nothing stopped it. You are Jiva, the living self, held within Brahman, the endless self. And every single thing that touches your life is a teaching given in love, even when it arrives as pain. So act. Act fully, and without fear. Do what is right. Give your complete effort, and then release the fruit. Not because the fruit does not matter, but because the giver of the fruit sees more than you do, loves more than you can, and has never, not once, let a single soul fall without reason. That is the full answer. That is what this field, and this war, and this moment have always been trying to teach you.